Coming up, it's round 4 of the Betfred Super League and the Challenge Cup this weekend. We've had loads of drama already. We've had a coaching casualty as well, just 3 games in. To discuss everything rugby league, I'm delighted to be joined by Kev Brown and Earl Crabtree. Gents, thanks for coming in. So, Lee Radford has unfortunately lost his job.
Yeah, it's early. I think there must be something going on behind the scenes as well as, it's been a poor couple of performances. Obviously, they got battered at home. Been a bit of off-field scandal as well. But yeah, I think Lee Radford, it's early, so I think there must have been a fallout there that's increased and accelerated the decision.
Yeah, it seems a strange one, doesn't it? Very early on in the season, when you look on social media, I don't think the fans were particularly happy with Lee Radford anyway, but it doesn't seem like the excuse to get rid of him. So it just seems like there's something not quite right at the club, something probably behind the scenes that we're not aware of. Yeah, very early doors. And 2 tough games he's had as well. The games that he's not expected to win, and especially going into a game against Wigan.
I think the performances, though, they've not just lost the game. They've put 36-0 at home. I think... Yeah, the writing were on the wall.
Various names being bounded around. Danny Ward, one of them.
Yeah, I think Danny Ward's an obvious choice. I think he's done really well. He's been at Cass before. He's from around that area. So, yeah, if they go with Danny Ward, I think he'll do well. I think the first thing they need to do is get some young players in that squad. I think there was only 1 player under the age of 30 on. So they've got a lot of experience, but they probably need some youth in there too, I'd say.
Picking up injuries as well, straight away, early doors, when you're losing games like that, you start picking up a couple of knocks and you're losing players, and I don't think they've got the strongest squad in depth anyway. It's going to be really tough for whoever takes over. They've got a job to do.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the fixtures from round 3. Let's start with that Leeds victory at St Helens. What a performance by Leeds.
Yeah, Leeds, I don't think anyone really expected it. Again,
no.
a team
because they've not started the season well, have they?
And for me, they look pretty lightweight in the first game of the season as well. And I expected that Saints, it would be just another comfortable win, but it was very close. And then obviously in the last sort of 10 minutes, it started to change. Referee, by all accounts, had a little bit of input himself into the game, made it very, very tough for both teams at times. But Leeds did enough. They found a way to win.
I mean, Saints were, 24-12 up at home. Now, that doesn't happen very often, does it?
No, well, and Tommy Makeson had a couple of opportunities to put the game to bed. He dropped one over the line, which we're forgive for that. But he had a kick, not bang in front, but just to the right, and he pulled that. And at that point, I spoke to Johnny Lomax, his dad, after, and he said, I felt at that point we give him too many chances to get back into it. And like Earl said, there was a decision. Sam Walters, it was a shoulder charge. He's been... fined for that after the game, so they've almost admitted it was a shoulder charge. And then, ironically, Conrad Hurrell gets sent off for a shoulder charge 2 minutes later, and it spins a game on its head. So you've got to say full credit and fair play to Leeds for hanging in there. I thought Saints were the better side. I think under Paul Wellens they'll be okay. It's a big job now for the team who play him. I think it's Lee this week, because you don't see Saints losing a game, and we definitely don't see them losing back-to-back.
Look, Saints are world champions. It was a surprise at home. Will this give Leeds a bit of confidence now? Because it was a poor start for the season for Leeds, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it'll give themselves a little bit of belief in themselves and that they can go on and win games. And obviously they were in a battle, got themselves back into it, losing the game and expected to lose as well. I think that gives them a little bit of confidence, that little bit of belief. And also for the coaching staff as well, not going in after a loss. There's probably less to change, but they've still got to work hard, because I don't think they are that final product. They're not the Leeds team that we've seen in the past. I think they've got a lot of work to do.
I think if Caesar and Austin can get to the levels that everyone expected when they started, they won't be far off. They're nowhere near
well,
it
we kept saying that all season, didn't we?
Yeah, and even though Caesar, I think he got man of the match on Sky at the weekend, I didn't really think he had a great game. Like I've seen him have for Canberra when he played with Blake Austin. But if them two can click, and I'm sure that's Rowan's biggest job.
It's a strange combination, isn't it, as well? I think they're very similar players.
But it's worked before, that's the thing, it's worked before at Canberra. So I was expecting this could be the real deal, but it just shows when they're not actually clicking and they're still staying in the contest. The back end of the season they had last year, if they can click, it could be ominous signs for all the other teams.
Talking about confidence, let's rewind to the first game of round 3. Warrington, Salford, 2-year-old clubs, but Warrington, that's 3 out of 3 now. And let's be honest, Daryl Powell went into this season under immense pressure.
Yeah, he took a lot of criticism, so I think it's a bit about time he gets some plaudits, and the way they've turned it around. It's not just that, because they won a few games last season, they started well, but I think the difference this year, they were already under pressure. And the win at the weekend, they came from behind against Salford. Salford just
26 down.
Yeah, 20 points to 6 down. The fans have been there before, and when I was at the club, that was a big thing they spoke about. They couldn't win from behind. When they got in front, they were fabulous.
They'd have lost that last season, wouldn't they?
They would have lost it, and they'd have probably lost it convincingly because, like I say, Salford went there and were playing great stuff. I think the recruitment's been great, and when Maguire and Dudson come in, especially, that pack will be dominant. But I think the best thing to happen in the off-season was George Williams playing for England, getting his confidence back.
We're seeing the England levels from George Williams, aren't we?
I think that's the best he's played for since he was at Canberra, like a long time, and probably even better than some of the performances. So if they can keep George playing at that level, get some of the others, and Darryl Clark's playing well. So conversely, he didn't play for England. I think the rest has done him good because he looks electric again.
Some of the big boys, for me, Warrington playing at Huddersfield, obviously, first game of the season, they dominated us in the middle of the field. Harrison, Vaughan, and those type of players, absolutely massive presences on the field and physical, and they just marched them forward. So that gives George Williams, I think he's obviously coming back into his own as well. He can demand the ball more as well. I think he's more of an important role, but off the back of some great forward play winning the ruck, they just marched forward. Like Cassiano gets that opportunity as well because
Cassiano looks a great signing.
He looks great. He's bouncing people off him, coming
He's
into
like
the line
Earl, he was unbendable. Robin Hall used to call Earl unbendable, and Cassiano is definitely unbendable.
That was,
a quick word on, obviously, both your old clubs, but Salford, Paul Rowley would be furious, who were 26 up.
Yeah, and I think there was a few decisions there that were 50-50 that went against them. But yeah, I don't worry for Salford. I think they're going to have another good year. I already see green shoots. They went over to Lee and dominated that. Yeah, they got beat off Warrington, but it's a big game this week going over to Hull. But I think the way that they're playing, they've got some stable, that their half-backs, the spine, and very, very good. Andy Ackers and Tyler Dupree, I thought he was the best player in a Salford jersey that night, the front row, where he was terrific.
Catalans 38, Hull 6. 3 out of 3 for Catalans. Hull were flat after a good start to the season.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing to see as well because there's a bit of expectation yet again with Hull, as he always is, because there's been so many changes as well. But as you say, a little bit flat. Catalan, probably for me again, I didn't think they looked brilliant at first, but they just seem to come into the stride. They seem to get better, stronger, and they're physical as always as well. So good signs for them. Hull again, probably looking to do a bit more and try and get that energy back into themselves.
Let's talk about your old club, Earl. One of the greatest game, was it? I was trying to say something about the game. 0-0 at half-time. We don't see that very often.
No, great
8-0.
defensive effort. We'll put it down to that as well. So half-time was a little bit shocked that it was 0-0. I think there's, again, we expect a lot from Huddersfield, the signings that were made as well, the strike that we've got in the team.
You just needed to win, though, didn't you?
Yeah, we do need to win, and I'd say it was good defensively. We have got that energy. We have got the fitness on the field as well, getting off the line. We work really hard, but it's trying to break down teams. I think that's the difficulty at the moment. We're getting very close, held up over the line again, things like that. And Joe Greenwood, he's scored 2 in 2, so we need him to keep picking up tries. Unusual to look at the forwards, but Jake Connor's a big one coming back for us very soon. But we need to find a way to put more points on the board.
It was a nearly season, wasn't it, last year?
It certainly was, obviously.
So is the pressure on this year?
There's so much pressure on, and I feel sorry for Ian Watson in a way, simply because he's got the team that he wanted. He's chosen this team. There's no excuses. There's nowhere to go. He's expected to do something this year, and it is. So we're talking about silverware essentially. It's a big year for him, big year for the team as well, and they need to perform. And we were talking before, there's a lot of players in that team and in the squad that are going to be disappointed week in, week out. So many good players, strength in depth, but when you're not performing like that, that's what makes it even more disappointing.
Well, you mentioned Jake Connor. Where's he going to play? That's the big one for me, keeping all them players happy. And there's so much quality already on that side, Earl. I was surprised that they only won 8-0. I was happy that the game was on firstly, but it was a fast track too. Get away from you grazing your knees. It's a fast pitch, so you'd think it would suit the attacking players. There's a lot of attacking players out there. Will Price, Tuilola here. 8-0, I think they need to get, it's a bit clunky at the minute. They need to get going, Huddersfield.
It is.
Wakefield, Lewis Murphy missing the rest of the season with a cruciate injury. So, Lewis, all the best. He was playing fantastic as well, was Lewis Murphy. How worried are you if you're a Wakefield fan?
A little less worried after the weekend. Before it,
Take some positives, we're only conceding two tries, yeah.
Going away from that, everyone associated with Wakefield would be happier than everyone associated with Huddersfield. I think everyone expected because Wakefield had a lot out too, with illness and injuries. So to come up and let's have it right. Huddersfield are one of the contenders this year. Whether they win the title or not, I'm not sure, but they're definitely one of the contenders. So, yeah, I am a little worried for them in terms of firepower. And, you know, Mark's done a good job there getting so close to Huddersfield, but at some stage they've got to start winning, or that trust in the coach and each other starts fading away.
Hull KR 25, Lee Leopards 30, first win of a season for Lee. I just thought experience was beginning to show for Lee in that game.
Yeah, I think
they've signed a lot of experienced players.
There's a lot of experience, but you can see how they're getting together as well. You see Josh Charnley when he scores into the corner, and you think, do you want this team as a team that is together and probably not expected to win all that many games, but they believe in themselves and they wanted to upset the apple cart, as it were, and make sure that they do pick off teams. And they looked, obviously, at this one as those opportunities to actually get the 2 points, and they've done that. And I like the energy, the sort of the nature of the play that they're actually performing on the field, and obviously with Derek Beaumont and the kit that they've got and stuff like that, they want to stand out, and I think they're doing that so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Lachlan Lamb's really a big part of that. Obviously, his dad's the coach. He came up with a clutch play to start the move off for Josh Charnley. Josh Charnley's playing, he's resurrected his career at Lee. The way he's playing at the minute, I think he's been one of their form players. But really happy for Derek. He copped some stick. But what he's doing, not only investing in the squad, investing in the game day. I went there, and if you bring in your children, they want to be part of rugby when you go to Lee Leopards at the minute. It's a fantastic day out, and full fair play to Derek, and hopefully they get a few more wins.
Yeah, Tapau is the booking on Friday night as well. He's certainly going for it, is Derek. So good luck to Lee Leopards. We'll talk about their game a little later. But the last game we've got to talk about, Castleford. We've mentioned it. Castleford 0, Wigan 36. We've obviously spoken about Cass. Lee Radford's gone. Just talk about Wigan very quickly. Liam Marshall, only a hat-trick for the week before.
Yeah, it's a very impressive start for him, and some big players as well, an intercept on his own line, making those big decisions and getting away from just about everybody at ease as well. Very tight game in the first half, 0-0 again at half-time, but then off the back of that, it was just, it's all Wigan. They looked very dangerous, with Liam Marshall scoring another hat-trick as well, and I think picking up the man of the match. He's just one of those players that you just can't let the ball get into his hands. He's too quick, but the team around him as well have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I know they lost the first game of the season at Hull KR. Now, this is an obvious thing to say. Wigan are going to be up there this term, aren't they?
They are. I think Hull KR are a very good side, so you can forgive them in round
Jordan
one.
Abdul, Mikey Lewis.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, but what Wigan are, Earl mentioned it then, he scored 8 tries in his first 3 games. They're a more balanced side. If you put too many numbers on Bevan French, Liam Marshall hurt you. But what they've got now is 2 absolute gun centres in Wardle and King, who can, facilitate the passes from the halves as well. So danger all over the field. Obviously, they've always had that toughness in the centre of the field, so they're going to be there or thereabouts this year.
Right, we'll talk about round 4 in a moment, but today is International Women's Day. After taking centre stage at the World Cup, the stars of the Betfred Women's Super League are gearing up for the biggest season yet. Let's hear from the St Helens captain, Jodie Cunningham.
I love International Women's Day because it just gives us all a chance to reflect on all the great things that have happened and highlight some of the ways in which we can improve. And, for us and for me, the game's got to a point which I never even imagined it could possibly get to. I think the growth we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years is probably more than we'd seen in the 20, 25 years prior to that. When we look at the number of girls playing, the number of women playing the game, we've got such a stable structure now. We've got tiered systems. We announced recently that there's going to be a tiered national pyramid for the women's competition, where we'll have competitions in the Midlands, in the North, in the South. Obviously, Women's Super League being that top-level competition that they all feed into.
Kerrigan with the tackle. Here is Bedstock now. Short ball for Cunningham. And Jodie Cunningham strikes inside 3 minutes for the champions.
How amazing is that all across the country women can play in all these exciting leagues and teams and find a way to get to the very top and compete against the best, and that's only going to help us as well driving towards that professionalism. And I genuinely believe the Women's Super League is the biggest difference that's been made in the women's game. That's caused this massive uplift in people wanting to be part of it in all different ways, but particularly the young girls. trying the sport for the first time. We're at record numbers in terms of participation of girls playing, but also teams and clubs who have now got women's and girls teams, which is only positive. We're going up year on year. Even with COVID and missing a full year of playing, we still increased on the following year. So, the women's side, I might be biased, but that's the point at which I think is one of the biggest growth areas of our sport and something we can be really proud of. So yeah, great time to celebrate all the good work that's been done and lots more to go. But I think this year will be really exciting. Hopefully we'll see that real inspiration that has happened off the back of the World Cup of lots of young girls saying, you know what, I want to be part of that, and they go down to their local team and we'll see the next England stars in the making.
And the Betfred Women's Super League and the Betfred Women's Challenge Cup start next month. And the women's finals come on the same day as the men's final at Wembley on the 12th of August. Earl, you're involved at Huddersfield still, of course. It's just brilliant to see the women's game getting more exposure, isn't it?
Without a doubt. It's something we actually covered today. We obviously, International Women's Day, had a massive event at the Giants, 200 women there, inspiring women within business. And we had some speakers from the women's team as well, the Huddersfield Giants ladies team. And they were saying about their story coming through and how hard it was to actually be accepted and also to be able to play and find somewhere to play. But now they're saying about the players that they've got to look up to, like Jodie Cunningham, people like that, for example. And that makes a difference for them. They're not looking up at male players anymore as their inspirations, but there's actually ladies now who they're looking up to. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. And for this sport to grow and to keep continuing to grow, the women's game's got to improve and keep growing.
Yeah, there's role models now in women's rugby league and football now as well, isn't there?
Well, there's never been that pathway before. It's never been as accessible to have a dream if you're a female that you want to be a sports person when you're older, and whatever sport that is, we were saying before, just get the kids playing, boys, girls, whatever, get out there, get a ball in your hand, get a ball at your feet, be active and enjoy it on the journey that they go through. If they don't, end up being professionals, they'll have a great time having fun with their mates anywhere.
And we'll be bringing you some Betfred Women's Super League and Challenge Cup action on this channel. And talking about live games, this Sunday in the Betfred Challenge Cup, it's Featherstone versus Halifax, a 3 o'clock kickoff. Coverage will start at 2:45. Alex Walmsley is doing co-commentary as well. So that's on Sunday. Right then, you've obviously seen both these teams on Viaplay now, isn't it? Featherstone look good.
Yeah, but they're beatable. Featherstone, they played on Monday. I was there on Monday, and Bradford pushed them really close. Longy wasn't happy about how they performed. They've got a few injuries. Simon Griggs is a very good coach at Halifax, so this will be a close game. I think Halifax will need to play better than they have done all season, and hope Featherstone play at the similar level as they played at last game. But yeah, two good sides, but you would say Featherstone are the favourites.
Right, so Featherstone versus Halifax live on the Sportsman. Then next Sunday the 19th, we turn our attention to Betfred League One. Workington Town versus the Dewsbury Rams. Workington Town versus Dewsbury Rams. That will be a decent game as well. So live rugby the next 2 Sundays on the Sportsman. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss a thing from this online rugby league channel.
You're watching the Sportsman Rugby League, the home of Betfred Super League Online.
Tune in to Last Tackle every Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
And that's what you're doing. You're watching the Last Tackle every Wednesday night. It becomes available on our YouTube channel. Right, let's turn our attention to round 4. We start on Thursday night, live on Sky. Wigan versus the Catalan Dragons. And fingers crossed, this will be a good game in front of the Sky cameras.
Both teams playing with a bit of confidence at the moment. Wigan, especially for me, you can't look past them. We talk about them every single year. No matter how they perform throughout the season, they're always there or thereabouts for the big games, and that's where they step it up a little bit. Wigan against Catalan, for me, it's going to be Wigan Warriors there. Very close game, though.
At home as well, Wigan. There's very few teams go to Wigan and win in this current climate under Matty P. And talking about climate, I just hope Catalans can get over here and they don't get snowed off. Because
the forecast is pretty shocking for tomorrow and Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, so they're going to come from the south of France and hopefully they get over here and they have a good preparation. Because like you say, Matt, that game is a cracker. And if both teams can bring the best, well, Sky have got a fantastic fixture for the fans.
and also in front of the Sky cameras on Friday night, Huddersfield versus Castleford. So, obviously, Castleford, Lee Radford's gone. This is big for Huddersfield, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's a great opportunity to show what we're all about as well. I think there will be words by the coach to the players and trying to put things right. Defensively, we're good. I think we're pretty strong there for the majority of it anyway, but the attacking side of the game for us has not been perfect. Need to find a way to get over the line, and hopefully against Castleford we can start to put that right.
You're in the side that finished top of the Super League. What's success for Huddersfield this year, then?
For me, it was the consistency. We had a great team back then as well in 2013. We're a team that plays well together and wanted to play together. Probably not a team of superstars. I think it's a little bit different this time. The players, they want to play for each other. They're really confident. They get around each other. But I think they haven't quite found a way to click yet. And once it does click, once those players are in the right places and they're actually putting on the big players that they need to put on, I think they'll do okay. So I just think we're just a tiny bit off. Tui, for instance, Tui Lola here, just not quite on the ball at the moment. Coming back from a World Cup, having a bit of a break, I think it's just taking them just a few weeks to settle back in, but when it comes, it'll come good.
What's success then for Huddersfield?
Success, I avoid the question, obviously. Success this year has to be silverware. It's as simple as that. Top 4, it's got to be. And they're looking to push for silverware, but actually picking it up. I think we're a minute away from silverware last year.
Yeah.
It's just a minute longer, that's all we have to play for.
You're very unlucky at Wembley. Right, also on Friday night, Hull KR versus Warrington. Sean Kenny Dowell has got a 4-game ban. I think this is fascinating for Warrington now. 3 on the bounce. Can they go and win away at Hull KR?
I think they can. I think you mentioned the captain's out for 4 weeks. The Kane Lynette's, I think he's done his knee. He's out. Jordan Abdul, they're saying he's carrying an injury. He might not play. So Warrington, they passed the test last week. I think this is another big test because, away at Hull KR is it's going to be a full stadium. Them Hull fans are going to cheer and jeer you. If Warrington can go there again, I think it's another tick in the box. And they're a little bit closer to being contenders this year, but they're going to have to do it consistently for a few more weeks before, everyone, at the start of every season, it's always Warrington's year. To convince a few more people, I think it's got to be a good couple of months.
Exactly the same for me. When you go to Hull KR, it's hostile. It's a great place to play at, but also that the fans get on your back as well as the opposition. So I think they need to play up to their own fans and make sure they get out and play well and start well. Warrington have been rocked already. They can be rocked, but they're just far too strong. And I think you're right. It's very early doors in the season. Let's talk about Warrington maybe a little bit later down the line as contenders. But what they've got and what they've showed so far, I think pretty much they're in for the long haul.
And you talk about the culture at Huddersfield, when you were there, it being close. Warrington look like they've got that this year. They didn't have that last year. So what Daryl Powell's done in the off-season with his recruitment, how he's coached the team, I think he's got to be commended.
Leeds versus Wakefield on Friday night. Leeds need to follow up the last gasp win at St Helens with a good home performance.
They do. There's no point beating the best in the world and then losing to potentially the team that everyone's saying are going to get relegated. But it's almost a free hit for Wakefield this week. Everyone expects them to go there and get beat, but it's a derby, and Wakefield often play quite well over at Headingley. That'll be a good game, and like I say, it's a free hit, but I do expect Leeds to be too good on the night.
I'd agree. I think Leeds will be too good, but Wakefield, I think they'll see this as an opportunity for them to mark this one as one of those games that they want to compete in and want to win as well. I don't think it'll be easy for Leeds. Wakefield, I think, will bring quite a lot to the game, and I think they'll be very physical, and I think that's where they'll try and beat them in the middle of the field. But Leeds, after that game, after beating Saints, I think they'll be too strong.
The Lee Leopards entertain St Helens, world champions on Friday night. They've invited a world champion. Michael Smith is going to be one of the guests of honour, obviously a huge St Helens fan. And Tapau are playing. So Derek is going for it again on Friday night, isn't he?
It's amazing. It'll be a really good night of rugby. So, well, not just rugby, it'll be entertainment, but the rugby will be good too. But I just worry for Lee that they've put the scouting for girls on, they got beat by Salford. Tapau's going to be on. and St Helens are rocking up in town off the back of losing, and I can't remember the last time that Saints lost a couple of games back to back in the league. So you would expect them to go there and win, but Lee are showing signs that they're a very good side. I do believe that they'll be very close to the top 6 this year. Whether they can do it against Saints, I'm not sure.
And I'm not sure about Derek's jacket, but he is trying to put the entertainment on, isn't he?
It's great, and when I said it before, he's took a lot of stick, Derek, the way he's conducted himself, and he's been outspoken, he's changed the brand, but he's trying to do it for the right reasons, to get that club that he loves noticed and up the table. So everything that Derek's doing, you know, behind the scenes to make it a better fan experience, I'm all behind that. And the fact that they got rewarded with a win is a great shot in the arm for Lee.
Lee, St Helens.
I think Saints are just too strong out there. I think coming off the back of this as well, and it's just trying to work out exactly how you think it's going to go. I think Lee are going to put in a big effort early doors, especially, but Saints, I don't see them losing back-to-back games.
They have got 3 banned, haven't they, from the weekend, though? 3, both back rowers, Matautia and Sinnerinen, and Conrad Urrell, so that's a big thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I don't know. I just can't see Lee. I think it's more because of what they've just achieved as much as anything else. But Lee look like a team that are together and working hard for each other. They could upset them again, but it's just hard to see them doing back-to-back. Can I just go back to Derek Beaumont briefly? I think he don't help himself sometimes. It's quite obvious. He's very loud. He's really outspoken. He says things in social media, and he probably shouldn't be saying them to a certain degree. But there's a lot I like about him as well, and what I like about him is the fact that he is trying to put Lee on the map in so many different ways and actually promote the sport as well. It's so important that we get away from just believing we're a huge sport. We need people that actually want to promote the sport and make it bigger and better.
Okay, right, on Saturday, available to purchase via the Our League app for the first time in the Super League. We've got an absolute cracker.
Swift in support. Swift's got the legs. Swift has got the pace. Big chance here. Croft Watkins. Chris Satai, and Chris Satai has motored through. He's left Jowett on the deck. Across the field they go. Lovely hands. Lovely first try of the night.
Book it now, and it's £4.95, £10 on the day. Hull FC versus Salford on Saturday afternoon, and hopefully it'll be the first of many extra games we get streamed live in the Betfred Super League. So it's on the Our League app. Obviously, I think Sky do a fantastic job, and it's great to have Channel 4 on board for the Betfred Super League as well. But it'd be great if a few more games are made available, wouldn't it, by the Our League app?
It will. I'll be buying that. That'll be a great game. You know, Hull FC, I really like Clifford and Hoy, they've brought in. And it's important for them that, you know, when they do lose, like they lost at the weekend, they bounce back, and they don't lose by so many points, because that was a real big problem last year and the year before under previous coaches. So Tony's got a job on at home to beat Salford, because Salford are a very good side. Paul Rowley will go there off the back of, you know, a good contest against Warrington, expecting a response also from his troops.
I know you're involved in the commercial side of the game, obviously at Huddersfield. This is a great initiative, isn't it? Making an extra game available.
It's massive for us, obviously. Commercially, I would have led straight on to that, even if you hadn't have mentioned anything. I look after sponsors and hospitality, so to see my sponsors on the shirt and things like that, to be able to be back on TV as well, it helps us in that department. We're trying to grow the game, and getting in sponsors is a huge part of us promoting ourselves and becoming a bigger club and a bigger sport as well. We need to attract these type of people. So, yeah, the more games, the merrier, and especially games like that. Salford, for me, look, they're just hard to break down at. They're very disciplined and do some really good stuff. Hull FC, a few changes there as well. I think it'll be a good game.
Gents, I've really enjoyed your company, running out of time, but just a final word. Look, I know we're only at round 3 in the Betfred Super League. We've got the women's game to start as well. We've got the Challenge Cup this weekend. I think it's been the best start to a season in a long time.
Yeah, I do as well. I think there's a lot to look forward to as well. There's a lot of changes in the sport at the moment. It's all very, very positive. And I think that's the way it's going to have to go. The entertainment's off the field as well as on the field. There's more games on TV. And the quality of play at the moment is absolutely fantastic.
Thoughts on the start of the season?
Oh, well, every game you turn up to, you don't know who's going to win. I think that's the real good thing. The salary cap, that's what we've been after for a long time. Saints have already been beat, Wigan have already been beat, Leeds have been beat, Hull have been beat. The big clubs have already been beat. So, yeah, it's and you could say that in the Championship too. Everything's really close. And we've got the IMG announcement shortly. So, yeah, it's been an exciting start all around.
Well, gents, thanks for coming in. So the live game this week on The Sportsman is Featherstone versus Halifax in the Betfred Challenge Cup on Sunday afternoon. See you next week.